Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Hello and welcome into ANF Plus Sports Tonight. I am Ellie Parker here with Connor Hines. Connor, it's been a busy day in Atlanta sports.
I don't know what else to say, Ellie. Football season is here. I guess we're pretending that basketball season is here too.
It's a busy time of year. We have some basketball news.
I mean, all of the above right now. An exciting time, as it so often is here in this city, and game week is here, Ellie. It's especially exciting for Georgia Bulldogs fans who kind of had to wait on the sideline last week and watch all those Georgia Tech fans get excited about Georgia Tech playing a game in Ireland. Big upset win for the Yellow Jackets. Guess what? We get Georgia Tech playing Georgia State this weekend.
And we get the Georgia Clemson
against Clemson in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Can't
beat it.
Definitely going to be a fun one. Definitely one of the big events this weekend. There were multiple. We've got the Tour Championship over at East Lake. We've got DragonCon. So there's going to be a ton of people in town this weekend for a variety of events. Really, Labor Day weekend in Atlanta is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But let's hear first from Georgia Bulldogs starting quarterback Carson Beck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said that now a bunch of times that, that's probably the main reason of me coming back and finishing the job and winning that national championship. But I think the team is really excited, especially as we head into a true game week. I mean, it's been a while. Our last game was against Florida State, and honestly, for me, it seems like yesterday, but it also seems like so long ago. So I know the team's excited. I know I'm excited, especially as we really start to prep. I know that the sense of urgency has definitely been up. You go through fall camp, you really focus on you. You get out of camp, really start to hone in on your week one, which is Clemson for us. So I know the guys are super excited. I'm super excited as we prepare for this game week.
Crazy thing about the Clemson game in 2021, really those two teams kind of went on divergent paths after that, but they came in ranked and everything. What are your memories? You were obviously very intimately involved in the game plan, getting ready for them and everything. What's your memories of that game and when you think back on it now?
Yeah, so that was 2021, and we were in North Carolina. I think we played that game in North Carolina. It's a crazy game, first off. I mean, we didn't, by crazy, I mean there wasn't much offense involved in that game. I think it was 10-3, if I'm correct. Really good defenses. I remember their defense being really good that year. Our defense being really good that year as well. Having spent a lot of time on scout team going against them. But going back to then, obviously it's a very different situation compared to now, which is crazy to see, how time goes, how things can change. But going back to then, just remembering how, good of a team they are and coming in being ranked, us coming in being ranked, and how big of a matchup that is, to come into week one and now full circle coming again 3-4 years later and seeing the same exact thing coming back. So, but actually being the starter this time. So.
Yeah, Carson, at this time last year, you were entering your first game week as the starter. Just how different do you feel right now knowing you've got all these starts, all these games under your belt, you're ready to, I guess, hit the ground running from game one? Yeah,
it's very different. I think maybe like some of the nerves that I had last year going into week one aren't present. I'm very anxious to get out on the field. I'm very excited. I have a lot of energy, heading into that, week one, considering we haven't played in so long. But it's definitely a different mindset, a different approach. Well, same approach, but in a different way, if that makes any sense. I can explain it a little later if you want me to. But no, I'm super excited for week one and going into that game. But seeing the difference from game one to game 14 last year, I'm excited to see what the jump is going to be from game 15 to however many games that we end up playing this season.
Yeah, having matched up against this Georgia defense throughout fall camp, what are your sort of expectations of that unit going into this first game?
Yeah, fall camp is always very difficult. Playing against our defense, especially in the conditions of, a Georgia summer, the Georgia heat. I mean, it's 100 degrees out there. You get out in that stadium, it feels like 110. There's no wind. The air is just all trapped in the stadium in those scrimmage games. And, our defense has done an unbelievable job, I think. Those coaches, have those guys so well prepared week in and week out, and especially playing against us. They see our stuff every single day. They go walk through it. They come out to the scrimmage. They know we're going to run this, and that. And it's almost like they're covering everything, Obviously, we have a lot of talented guys that are going to be able to make plays against our defense and other teams. But, I have a lot of confidence in our defense. I think they're going to do some really special things this year.
Carson, what do you think of the running backs that you have available, with this offense on Saturday to run the ball like you want?
Yeah, I think our running back room is really deep, and one guy that missed last year with the injury, Branson. He's someone that you go back to his freshman year, 2 touchdowns in the national championship game in 2023. Was that? Yeah, 2023, 2 touchdowns. Just a crazy athletic guy that you can comfortably hand the ball to him. He's going to make plays. A ton of confidence in him. But that's just one guy. I think our running back room is so deep, especially those young guys that are coming in. But then you look at ETN, you look at Cash, and those type of guys that are going to be able to make plays with the run game, in the pass game. But no, super excited to have them, and it always makes my job a lot easier when you have a talented running back room.
Carson, over here. A couple things. One, Kirby was talking about trying to maintain in the locker room with NIL now. Certain positions, obviously, like in the NFL, maybe do a little better in that than other positions. How have you tried to, maintain, while doing some nice deals on the side, to kind of maintain that atmosphere in the locker room where I'm not above anybody else? And also, after that, if you can just discuss what you maybe specifically tried to work on coming into this season off of the great year you had last year.
Yeah, for me and for our team, I don't think anybody really lets NIL come into the locker room. I think our culture is better than that as far as the money aspect. I don't think anybody thinks that they're above anybody. We really don't discuss that type of stuff in the locker room. It's very individualized, as you know, from person to person and player to player. But I think we do a good job of that as a team, and I think Coach Smart does a good job of that as handling the players in that circumstance. And then for me, coming into this season, just trying to be a better vocal leader, try to be a better leader and, serve my teammates, serve my guys. How can I help a wide receiver? How can I help an O-lineman? How can I help a running back? How can I help somebody on the defense? That's the biggest thing for me, is not only being a leader of the offense, but trying to be a leader of the entire team. And, that's a step for me, because last year I really leaned on said, him having that respect and gaining that respect from the guys, being a 3-year starter. But obviously, him being gone now, someone has to step up into that role. So I've really been trying to step up into that role as, spring ball went through, summer ball, fall camp, finding my moments and, just trying to find myself and my peace in that circumstance.
It's not a true road game, but Kirby was interested in how the communication and the headset would work, in loud environments. Have you practiced? I'm sure no details unnoticed here. How's that gone with the expectation to communicate in what could be a louder environment you're used to?
Yeah, it's definitely different, being able to hear it through the headset, or through, I guess it's a headset in the helmet. And then opposed to looking at signals on the sidelines. Now we'll still do both, and which if you can't hear, you go straight to that. Your eyes go to the sidelines, and so I don't think that we'll have any communication issues. But we'll see as far as me actually being able to hear and being able to hear Coach Bobo in the helmet week 1 come.
Yeah, Carson over here to your right. Obviously, you've had some time to study and prepare for Clemson. If you could, just real briefly, how would you describe who they are from a fundamental standpoint on the defensive side of the football?
Yeah, from what I've been able to see, watching some of their games from last year and some cut-ups, is, they're going to play you straight up. They want to play man-to-man and, pressure you. They want to force the hand of the quarterback, maybe get an extra guy in the box, say, okay, like, you're not going to run the ball, like, you're going to have to throw the ball. So, how do we manage different schemes to where we're still able to run, maybe play action pass, different pass schemes of, how can we get different matchups on different guys. So no, but, they're a very talented team. They got some young guys that are going to, have some playing time for them and get in there. but they're going to challenge you, and they're going to be up in your face, and I'm excited for that. It's going to be competitive.
Carson, right here, real quick. You referenced that 2021 matchup with Clemson. How different are you guys as a program now compared to that first game back in 2021? Obviously, the way that season ended kind of set you guys off on this run.
Yeah, I don't think the culture has changed at all. I don't think the approach has changed at all. It's actually a great question. Thinking about that, going back to, I guess, how old would I have been? I guess I was 19 then. So, I was much younger than now, but it's the same. The fall camp was the same. The summer workouts were the same. The spring ball was the same. The winter workouts were the same. It's all the same regimen. There's little changes and little twists here and there of, okay, how can we improve in this way? How can we improve in that way? And, I think our coaches do a great job of that. But there hasn't been that much that's changed. It's still the same approach and same mindset and, the same goals.
Carson, what did you see from Dylan Bell just this offseason as he gets ready for his third year in the program?
Yeah. Obviously, he's been able to have a pretty large impact straight from his freshman year. There's some plays and games that he made as a freshman, and then coming into last year, stepping up in a couple of big games, making big-time plays. You go back to, I guess, the game that really, hits my mind is Tennessee. I think he had like 130, 140, maybe one or two touchdowns. I think he had a passing touchdown in that game too. But no, he's so versatile and can be used as a weapon, whether that's in the backfield or as a wide receiver. And there's so many things that he does well. So I'm super excited to watch him not only go out and perform and make plays, but as he does make plays, for his confidence, to continue growing as it has since his freshman year.
So, UGA Clemson this weekend. I do have to ask, who you got?
I got the Dogs. I know I saw at one point they were a 14-point favorite, I believe.
I think it was 13.5 to be specific. I think they cover that. I also have the Georgia Bulldogs winning this game.
I don't know by how much it's going to be, but I do know Georgia's coming out of there.
I think they cover the spread at 13.5. Clemson's a good team, but they're not quite what they used to be.
Yeah. And I think from a Georgia standpoint, Ellie, we're going to obviously find out a lot as, week one is kind of like Christmas morning for a sports fan. You don't really know what you're going to get until you see it all out there. I think Georgia fans have many reasons to feel very good about the offense. I think some questions will be answered the next couple of weeks defensively, especially up front. We talk a lot about that D-line. I think it has a real opportunity to show itself and show its worth here in the early goings of the season. We'll see if Clemson presents that opportunity. We know Dabo's going to have his guys ready, sound defensively. We know that's going to be a factor. So excited to see how Heisman hopeful Carson Beck, does in this first real test, because Clemson is no slouch of an opponent, as these kickoff games so often are. This is going to be a good game. I don't think we're getting a blowout either way. I don't think we're getting another Oregon in the kickoff game.
I was going to mention, we said that last year, Oregon's a good team, and then
we did.
UGA blew the doors off. So
look, Christmas morning, we don't know what we're going to get. I do think it's going to be an entertaining game, at least for 2 or 3 quarters. Come on.
And really, are you going to be the one to complain about the presents?
No.
All right, moving from Saturdays to Sundays. Raheem Morris still talking to the media before the Falcons finally kick off in a game that matters. Obviously, there's a ton of excitement around the team this year. Sold out their season ticket allotment, which they haven't done in a very long time. And, Morris is part of that excitement. It's a new head coach, defensive-minded, brought in Zach Robinson to be the offensive coordinator. Robinson has been very successful. You have Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback. You have all these new pieces. You have, maybe we can count even somebody like Kyle Pitts, who might actually be used as a sort of new piece, just because he's going to see more looks in this offense. So let's go to Raheem Morris and hear what he had to say.
Realistically, D-Lay, you got to put it on a different format nowadays because all the new rules that's been put in place, right? It's the best 69 people that you can keep on your roster because of all the new rules. Some of the things that you got to adapt and adjust to, whether it's a day off or the media can't come in, or it's having 69 players with people that you can flex up on rosters in order to form your 48-man roster that's allowed on game day, or 49 if you keep the third quarterback. So all of those things are always a part of it. So decisions are always made to keep the best people in place in order to find ways to win games as much as we can. Come on in, Josh. You're okay. You're not fine today. D-Lad just absolutely took all the fines away from everybody before this press conference started, so you're good. Yes.
Yeah, and the practice squad after you, that hustle and bustle to get people back and pick up people outside of the rim of the 90 men you already had.
So the hustle and bustle outside of the 90-man rim that we already have is being done throughout the whole term of training camp. You know, we got all these young scouts upstairs, Akeem and Ben and all those guys, and Sal and all those guys that just scour through rosters, and they do such a great job of watching and evaluating tape and looking at it all, and then they would report their reports to Ryan Pace, and it goes to Cal Smith, and obviously it gets to Terry Fontenot, and those guys had just a rougher time as we do in the draft of staying up here the last couple of days and really discussing and finding out what best fits us and how we go about that process. It's been I really respect the amount of work that our organization puts into the bottom and the top of our roster to formulate what we're able to come up with. And like I said, man, forming that 69 players that can be on your football team is a special occasion. It's awesome to watch and to get the information from the other guys. When I can sit here with my coaches and evaluate the guys that we have on the roster, they're able to evaluate the rest of the league and find out what's best fits us, who we like to bring in and who we like to see, whether it be now or whether it be future use. I think it's always good to go do that with those guys.
In the Super Bowl year, how many players were up? I know when Green Bay with McCarthy, you said that they had so many injuries that year. It was 78 players that played in the game or were up and active. So people look at the 48, but you really kind of got to have 80 plus.
It's just like I said, man. You guarantee 69 guys at the beginning of the season, and as we know, this game is historically you lose people just throughout it. We talked about how many quarterback plays last year alone. I think it was 66 or whatever the case may be, quarterbacks, right? So just imagine the other positions on the stuff that you go through with attrition and people that are going to come back, and how this thing always circles back to those people and the people that and all those type of things. So that work is just critical. So the things that our scouts do behind the scenes, the things that our coaches the things that they pass to our coaches, all that work is all critical just throughout the process, D-Led. I got, like I said, so much respect for all of our evaluators and all of our people in our front office that's able to go through that process with Terry and all those guys and be able to put us in position to have the best people on our roster that we possibly can have.
I know that people make a lot about initial 53-man, but there are a lot of names who meant a lot to your preseason that are on this practice squad. So Carlos Washington, Kevin King, Chris Blair. How important was it to you to keep those guys around?
Very important. Like I mentioned, Tori, I don't even call it the practice squad. I just call it an extension of our roster. And I know it is. I know that's the term, but I got so much. I told those guys yesterday. I got so much respect for all those guys. The guys that you just named, included with the other guys that we got, that I feel really confident, other than people that I wouldn't know right off the back, of being able to flex guys up in exactly what role they'd be able to play for us right now. And those roles obviously get increased as you go throughout a season, and you're able to prepare and practice and do different things. But like we talked about, injuries happen, and you got to have people up. And you got the tool of being able to flex people up nowadays, and that's really made it an extension of our roster, especially getting 3 flexes a person until you got to make real decisions whether you put them on a 53 or not.
I can't remember if this was you or Terry that said y'all would do this exercise where you would write down the best 53 men on the 90-man roster, and regardless of position, just who are the best players. I'm curious what that exercise looked like and how close this initial 53-man relate to that.
That's definitely Terry exercise. For me, I sit in my office and I kind of do my own deal, and then we collaborate together and see how close we are. And a lot of time it's really close, and then that brings up the ultimate discussion on how you keep the best people. And I know I can rely on Terry and Kyle and Ryan to have the best ways and avenues and places and ways we can keep the best people on our roster. And that's when it comes to listening, that skill that we talked about on what's different between Raheem Morris now and then. Being able to listen to those guys and figure out how do we do those things and have opinions, but at the same time, be able to listen to some of the people that's put in those positions that go through that every single day.
We talked to Kirk during training camp, and he was kind of talking about the general anxiety that you have this time of year and getting ready for week one and just making sure you are on your P's and Q's with everything that's being installed. What's it like for a coach, especially when you get to this point, you know, you're just post cuts and you've got a week and a half before that first game? Do you kind of feel that same, like, not nervous, but just that?
It's okay to say nervous.
Anxiousness of, do we have everything ready?
Yeah, it's not, you know, you prepare for these moments. And like for coaches, really, this is like the best part, you know, like you make the transition from evaluator, you know, to game planner. And you make that transition and you feel really good and comfortable with the amount of stuff that you have. And I've been fortunate enough to be doing it for a while that you start off, I remember the first day of OTA days, and you feel like you don't have enough. And then you feel that nervousness, energy that you got to get this stuff in, you got to get it installed. And by the time you get to this point, you start to feel really comfortable and you got like, you're fully loaded and you're ready to go out there and prepare and play and game plan and watch the other opponent and really come up with different ideas and schemes and things that you can do in order to go out there and dictate terms, so to speak. And like, so for coaches, this becomes the really, you know, I don't even know how to say it, but you get real tough, you know, like in your office by yourself, you know, then that nervous energy is able to come out, you know, once the national anthem goes, when that first game starts. And then once that happens, you know, it's go time. And I know this, the Pittsburgh Steelers have got a flight. They're coming regardless, and you better be ready.
Reem, can you confirm that Heineke is getting sent to the Los Angeles Chargers?
Still in the process. You know, we'll see where that lands out. And then obviously when that's able to be talked about, when it's not a process anymore, we'll do that. Sorry, Mark.
Coach, during Nightcap last weekend, you made a couple of comments about what winning teams do and, you know, how you want to form this team's identity and moving the needle. Are you satisfied that the players that you have now in this 53-man roster can do all of those things, or are you going to make some moves?
I'm really more than satisfied. You always are trying to upgrade at all times, and it just keeps a subtle edge, right? That competitive edge around your team where everybody's competing, where everybody's trying to be the best version of themselves in order to go out and compete at the highest level every single day. Doing Nightcap was a lot of fun with Shannon and Ocho and being able to talk about some reminiscent things, but that is like the essence of ball when you get a chance to talk to former players. I always tell David I like talking to former players, but I don't talk to D-Led by himself because I always love talking to former players when you're talking about football and those moments and those things and how you get winning teams and when it happens and the things that you go through when that stuff happens. It's just so much fun. Just exciting times, but I feel really good about it.
Forgive me if I've asked you this before.
It's okay.
I have.
Josh, it don't matter. You can ask it twice, whatever.
Kirk's notes. How closely have you looked at the notes that Kirk takes during meetings?
Oh, you don't look at him. I kind of sneak and peek at him, like I pry. He sits right in the front of the room, and he's maniacal, right? He has his notes in front of him, and he's throwing his plays, and they're really small, and he's just going through, and I just kind of laugh and shake my head like this guy's sick, you know. And but it's really cool to look at when you just watch a professional, you know, and how he works and how he goes to his process. And it's worked for him clearly, you know. It's worked for him really well up until this point, and I just marvel at it because these become stories that coaches can tell to their children. These become stories that coaches can tell to the people that they coach moving forward, and how well it was done. You know, no different than when you're talking about former coaches that come to mind for me, like Amani Kiffin or Mike Tomlin, and some of the processes that they went through, some of the things that we did out in L.A. When you got a chance to watch a guy like Eric Garber, how he coached wideouts and things of that nature. But all the people that you've been around, you gain those experiences, no different than the players. You know, eventually that will become my idea for some young quarterback, telling him how to do it because that's what Kirk Cousins did. And those stories become legendary. And if you can just take a peek at it, man, it is really cool to see.
Do you say that to Michael? Do you say, watch this and copy that? Or do you have to let Michael sort of organically develop his own system?
I think option B. You know, you kind of organically develop your own system, but it's definitely good to see somebody go through their process and what it looked like. And then you steal things. That works for me, you know, and you find a way to do that. And you can't make it false enthusiasm that Michael does that. But I think it has to be something that maybe he captures from him. He may capture that. He may capture meeting presence. He may capture how to command the huddle. He can capture some of the other things that Kirk does. Like yesterday, we were kind of off a little bit, and Kirk, inflection of his voice just absolutely changed the dynamic of the practice within play 3. And you just noticed that from the outside looking in. And all those things, you know, when you got a chance to get some real good coaching points and some real good evaluation points from Michael.
All right, we are not done talking about the Falcons. They have traded Taylor Heineke to the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm still not used to saying the Los Angeles Chargers.
Neither am I. Let me ask you this, Ellie. Were you surprised that they waited until the 53-man roster deadline to keep Taylor Heineke on the active roster?
A little bit. I was a little bit surprised.
Because there were a couple surprises in terms of, Kevin King is one in the secondary who comes to mind right away for me in terms of a guy who is certainly on the bubble, if you will, but was left off. And here you have Taylor Heineke taking up another spot, only to say goodbye to Taylor Heineke.
For a conditional 6th-round pick next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a part of me that was a little bit surprised that this was a move the Falcons made. Because it definitely seems, because the 53-man roster was finalized just earlier this week. So unless this was something that happened incredibly quickly and very late in the game, then I don't know what the Falcons and Chargers were waiting on.
Right. And we had a feeling either way that Taylor Heineke was not going to be an Atlanta Falcon for much longer. It's just the matter in which this all happened and the timing after the deadline that's kind of puzzling, but looking forward at this point. So, look, it's a trade they made. It's probably one of the last moves they will make before week 1 against Pittsburgh. So I think at the very least we can now put this behind us and say we're on to Pittsburgh. We're really looking forward to week 1, and that's kind of the vibe that you got from Coach Morris and company out there at Flowery Branch today. So
we have basketball news. It's September.
Basketball news for a basketball event happening 7 years from now. But either way, a big day in the ATL.
Atlanta's been selected as the host of the 2031 Men's Final Four. It will be the 5th time that the city has hosted the event.
You going to still be here in 2031, Ellie? TBD.
TBD.
We knew this was going to happen sooner or later because, remember, Atlanta was supposed to host in 2020. Then COVID happened.
Everything happened.
So we knew it was coming back at some point. It's so funny how, with all these major sporting events, Final Four, Super Bowl, National Championship, what have you, scheduled out so far in advance that 2031 was the closest time we could get for Atlanta. But at the very least, we know we're going to get the Final Four 7 years from now. So,
and if you
at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
At Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but if you can't wait for postseason basketball in Atlanta, State Farm will host the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 this season.
Right. It's going to be exciting.
What's on your mind?
Do I have to say the San Diego Padres again, Ellie?
San Diego Padres correspondent Connor Hines.
In the hunt, and that's all that matters right now. An NL West title is above our wildest dreams, Ellie, so we're going to shoot for the playoffs. I think much how the Braves are just shooting to get in the playoffs right now. Root for that wild card, but big final stretch of the MLB season for not just the Braves, not just the Padres, but a lot of teams out there. I have a feeling I don't know what's on your mind, Ellie, but go on.
What's on my mind? The Paralympics. I'm not done.
I thought it was going to be Dragon Con.
I'm not done ranting about Olympic sports because the Paralympics began in Paris yesterday.
That's right.
Going for another 2 weeks, and it's something near and dear to my heart as a disabled person. So
I think USA Network carries a lot of that coverage.
A lot of that's on USA Network. So give these athletes your love. Give them the same love you gave the Olympic athletes because they deserve it just as much.
Love it.
For Connor Hines, I am Ellie Parker. This has been ANF Plus Sports Tonight. Go watch some sports.